Welcome back to the Walleye Files, guys. Brandon Ruffalo here. We've got a great episode for you this week. We've got a FLW Walleye Tour winner. We've got a FLW Walleye League champion. He has fished every season of the National Walleye Tour. He fished the Professional Walleye Series for head-to-head back in the day. Mr. Bill Shimota joins us here on the Walleye Files this week. I hope you guys are all doing well. I appreciate everybody for watching. Bill was a great guest. He basically said whatever was on his mind, and I think more people need to act that way, and more people need to be that way in this industry. There's a lot of sunshine and rainbows, and Bill doesn't always portray that. He portrays exactly what he's thinking and how he feels, and I like the transparency. It was a great talk with Bill. Had a great time talking with him before, during, and after the podcast. Still has a lot of love for the sport, and it's contagious. You know, all the guests on here have been great. This is just another awesome conversation with somebody in the industry, somebody who views the industry a bit different because he's a business owner. So sit back and relax, enjoy Mr. Bill Shimota. Of course, we can't do this without our sponsors: Lake Effect Lures, Bring the Storm, Striker Brands, Go Early, Go Late, Go Prepared, Thunderhook Fly-Ins, Image 360, and Crown Trophy of Oshkosh, Wisconsin, Bellevue Spice Company, and Walleye Nation Creations. Amazing companies. You know, I say it a lot. Amazing companies, great products and services, but better people. Without the people, the products and services wouldn't be nearly as impressive. So make sure to check out all those businesses and companies in your free time. But without further ado, Mr. Bill Shimota. This episode of the Walleye Files is brought to you by Thunderhook Fly-Ins, the premium fly-in fishing destination in Ontario, Canada. Trophy walleyes, giant pike, and remote wilderness adventures await. Book your trip now at thunderhook.com. Bill Shimota, how you doing, my friend?
Hey, I'm doing good, buddy. It's good to finally get to sit down and chat with you.
Yeah, we've been texting back and forth a little bit. You are possibly the busiest man in fishing between running businesses, have a wife and multiple kids. You're talking about doing some guiding tomorrow. I mean, you are as busy as it gets.
Yeah, it's kind of wild, you know. It's I don't know. I live my life in a hurry. I shake my head all the time. Like, I don't know why. I mean, I know why I do it, but I don't know how I do it sometimes. And so yeah, it's a lot. Just the biggest thing for me right now is we have a 10-month-old baby, and we don't have daycare. We only have daycare 2 days a week. So I've actually been daddy daycare 3 days a week for the last several months. So yeah, that's got me a little grounded. That's taken up a lot of time, but I love it. I mean, it's all good. And of course, I got the other two kids, 8 and 10-year-old boys, and you know, we're getting into fall, so we're doing a lot of running around hunting and doing tree stands and getting all that stuff ready to rock. And yeah, I wish I was fishing more in the fall. Last year I didn't even get out in the fall, which is embarrassing, but it just stayed kind of warm. The river fishing down in Red Wing, Pool 3, 4, never really got that great until super late. But now it should be pretty good. Yeah, I'm going to get out and do some fishing this week and keep hunting, man. It's all good. It's a great time of year, right? Everything's so crammed into this like 3-week period. You got the fall fishing for anything. Bass, walleye, muskie is some of the best of the year. And if you're a waterfall hunter, you got the migration that's about to start to happen. And of course, if you're a whitetail hunter, you know what goes on in late October, early November. So it's I'm just going to try to enjoy it.
Yeah, I think that's all you can do. It's whatever you pick, whatever you decide you're going to pursue. I think you just enjoy the chase at that point.
Yeah, exactly. You know, you can't do it all, but yeah, I did a little piece this morning on fall fishing and kind of reminded myself of what I'm missing out on almost. You know, it's just a great time to be out on the water. It's quiet. You know, there's not a lot of boat traffic, and the fishing can just be phenomenal, as you know, in the fall. So hopefully get out and do a little more of that this year, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, always staying busy. I do a lot of boat rigging as my primary source of making a living. So you really don't do a lot of that this time of year. But it's still got the mount business, the stable mount business, and that's doing well. That kind of also this time of year is about its worst, or you know, this is the lowest as far as sales is always usually in October. So And we're still selling some stuff. So that's a good sign. It's kind of been all over the place. When I first bought it, I was excited to have the business. Well, then it wasn't like 3 months later. Well, it was the COVID year. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Like, we're slipping into a pandemic, a nationwide, worldwide pandemic after I just stuck my neck out and bought my first business. And so I was worried then. And well, then everything peaked. The outdoor industry peaked, marine fishing industry went wild, and we had a great year. And it's just been all over the place since. But yeah, that keeps me busy. Mounts are selling good. And we got a lot of nice stuff available, and always doing something, man. Running. It's all good.
So how do you balance your life as a tournament angler with businesses, with family, being a husband, being a father, all the things that you have your fingers in? How do you balance home life with tournament life on the road?
Well, you don't. It's out of balance. But my saving grace with the family, with the kids, my wife is fine with it. I was fishing tournaments before her and I even started dating, so she's just been used to it, and she's on board with it. She's a big help getting ready and stuff, and she's definitely part of the support team. But as far as the kids go, I'm lucky enough to be self-employed. So like in the summers, I actually have my boys all summer long, and so we get to spend a ton of time together. And then also, like I said, I have the baby now a lot too, so that's made it a little easier to leave home. But now when she starts daycare this coming year, I don't know. It's going to be hard to leave. That's for sure. But if I did not get to spend that much time with my kids, I don't know if I'd be able to do it. I really don't. Fortunately, I've made fishing, as part of making a living a long time ago. So I kind of always have to tell myself, like, I have to go. I have to leave for that tournament, and I have to go here and I have to go there. And so we'll see. I mean, it's getting harder and harder all the time. The tournaments are getting harder to make money at, and sponsorships are tighter, and I mean, everything. It just seems like a challenge. And obviously the expenses too, gas, lodging, and bait, and the whole 9 yards. Everything's creeping up, and it just doesn't seem like the payouts have gotten a whole lot better either. So it's not even easier to make money. But so that's kind of how I make it work. I get to spend enough time with the family in between events, and so far that's just kind of working for me. But I tell you what, it's getting harder and harder to leave the fam. Fortunately, they're not in a lot of sports yet, but I know when that starts, that's going to be hard to miss, baseball games and stuff like that. So we'll see. I don't know. It's just one day at a time, 1 year at a time. And I don't know. Well, you never really know what that next season is going to bring.
Yeah, my wife and I are talking about having children soon-ish, and I'm happy for the days that we have now where we can go and do anything we want. I can go fish tournaments, we can go on hunting trips. My wife's gone to Florida a few times this year. Like, this year has been the year of doing all the things we want to do. But man, I don't know, just having to leave home would be definitely a large challenge. And I give you and your wife and your family all the credit, because I mean, you keep things running as far as your business. Yeah, and obviously the family's doing great. We were just talking about deer hunting, talking deer stories. Your 10-year-old's first one. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. No, that was incredible. I got to give thanks again to my buddy Tim Newman. A lot of you guys around the fishing industry know Tim. He was the one that started. Him and his partner started Brew City, the Brew City CT 360 forward-facing sonar poles, and actually rewind before that, him and I knew each other as he was a co-angler that traveled with us on the National Walleye Tour, and then he actually fished on the pro side for a couple of years, and then kind of his business took off, and so we quit fishing tournaments. But anyway, him and I have been friends for since, and so he invited us to hunt the youth season in Wisconsin, and which was amazing, and I was super excited for Drake, for one of my kids. He's 10, to get his first deer this year, and then he ends up going out. I'll spare you the whole story. We'd be here all night, but he ends up shooting just a beautiful big 10-pointer, a big 4x6, and That's not how I wanted it to start, but how don't you? Like, I mean, there's a big old buck standing in the food plot 60 yards away, and you got a rifle sitting there in a tripod with the safety off. It was amazing, like amazing. And so yeah, it was good to kick off the hunting season. That first, it was kind of weird because it was like I didn't have any, I had my clothes airing out and stuff for a while, but I had nothing ready. And all of a sudden, it's like, oh my god, we're deer hunting tomorrow. Like we got to get our stuff going here because I haven't been bow hunting in many years. And bow hunting always used to be such a nice way to kind of get yourself ready for the rest of the year and gun season and stuff. It wasn't a big deal. You had all your calls and your boots and your scents and everything. Your deer stands are all ready. And but now that I don't bow hunt, sometimes I feel like I'm never ready to start. But so it was nice to knock the dust off, knock down a big deer, and we're getting ready to do it again now in Minnesota here soon. So super excited. The kids love deer camp. Drake's gets to hunt now. He's 10, like I said, in Minnesota. So he'll be filling some tags. He could fill my tag if he wants. And so yeah, hopefully we just get a crack at something. Like I said, we're not really hunting big deer now in Minnesota, but that's all right. It's really taken me back to my roots, even when I've had the kids in the tree with me the last couple of years. Like, we've shot a couple nice bucks, but basically it took all that BS with letting him grow, and he's not big enough, and he's only 4.5. I wish he was 5, and all that stuff, which I love. Don't get me wrong. I'm a trophy hunter, and but we don't really have the grounds to do that either anymore. So it's been so refreshing to just kind of take me back to my roots and go out and we're hunting for a buck. I don't care if it's a 6-pointer or an 8-pointer, or we might let the itty bitty ones go, but it's just how it is. Like I tell people, like, even if I'm like, when you're going to shoot an animal, that's when the heart gets pumping. Like, even if it's a doe, like if I'm on a doe hunt and I could have a 140-inch buck walk right underneath me, and my heart won't hardly skip a beat because I know I'm not shooting that deer. But when I'm shooting the doe that's behind it or in front of it, like, then I'm like, oh, there's something about when what's going down, like, that gets you all fired up. And now that we're out there just kind of hunting deer again, like it brings a whole new level of excitement being out in the woods. So I can't wait. Like, these next couple weeks will be pretty special for us.
Absolutely. Speaking about your roots, let's talk about your early years as a tournament fisherman. Bill, I don't know you that well. Obviously I've watched you since early days on FLW, FLW National Walleye Tour, head to head. I think some AIM stuff as well. A lot of great success over the years. Where did that all start?
Well, to go way back to the beginning was probably, well, I fished, if we're going to go back to the very beginning, I was 15 years old. My dad worked at this big plant, and a lot of outdoorsmen around in that town and stuff. And so they had a bass tournament that they offered for the people that work there or the families of people that work there. And so my very first tournament was a bass tournament that I fished. It was me and a buddy, but it was individual, like his fish counted, my fish counted. And I ended up winning that tournament, and I won this. I still have it somewhere. I don't know if it's down here, but I won this really ugly 3-foot, 4-foot trophy, and, like, I don't know if it was like $75 maybe. And I thought that was the coolest damn thing in the world. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I love to fish, obviously, and I went out and I got paid to go fishing. Like, so I don't know if that's what planted the seeds or what, but that was 15 years old. So then kind of 16, 17, 18, 19, I would do a lot of like local stuff. We fished a Tuesday night league around home here, and that was actually a big step because I got to meet a lot of people and kind of start networking with people and that sort of thing, guys that fish these bigger circuits. And then it kind of transitioned into fishing a lot of local stuff on Lake Mille Lacs. So Lake Mille Lacs is really where I cut my teeth. I used to spend so much time up there, winter and summer. And so did a lot of the local tournaments up there. Started having a little success. The big thing was there, you start to learn the techniques, the casting things and trolling lead core and all that sort of thing. Then kind of started fishing a state level circuit back in the day. It was called the World Walleye Association over here. So started doing some of them. So you'd fish like the Mississippi River, Mille Lacs, Leech, Winnie, Lake of the Woods was basically the milk run. Usually Big Stone might be on there sometimes. So started doing them for quite a few years. I did that and won several of them. A couple in Red Wing, one in the St. Louis River, I think, Lake Superior, Lake Bemidji. No, that was the league. So then that was kind of the next thing. I started fishing the MWC, I think it was in 2004. Bought my first Ranger boat in 2004. Fished the MWC, and the very first tournament that I fished that year was in Spring Valley in my brand new Ranger boat. Was going to fish the whole season, and I'll never forget that event. That was back when there was like 225 boats and a waiting list to get into it. Like, it's hard to imagine with all the mess we're in nowadays, but so 225 boats, and we were in the top 5 after the first day, and the second day we were sitting on 4 fish. I was handlining. Not a lot of people handlined back then. And maybe even 1, 2 other guys, maybe if even. And I had 2 fish on halfway to the boat that would have made number 5, that would have won us that tournament. That, I mean, I guarantee you, either one of them would have won that tournament. I had the damn thing won 2 times. And we ended up taking 4th or 5th place, I remember. Which in a 225 boat tournament, you should be just happier than hell at that, right? You know, we cashed a nice check, all that. I don't think my partner and I said one single word on the way home. We were so disgusted that we had it in our hands and we let it slip away. But honestly, in hindsight, that did something to me too. Like that lit a fire in me. Like, just, it gave you confidence, basically, right? Like, holy cow. I mean, these are all the best walleye fishermen in the world, and we basically just won. We didn't win, but we won. You know, we won it. We won it in our minds, and so that was a big deal back then to me. And so yeah, fished the MWC 2004, 5, 6, won one on Beta Knock in 2006, 2007. Started fishing the FLW League. I think, yeah, that was the year I fished the FLW League. So did well there. Ended up winning the Lake Bemidji event, and that was a cool win for me too because, well, first of all, I'd never been there, never seen the lake in my life. I did a little research on it. Basically, everybody said you had to use live bait, had to do this, had to do that. Well, there was a very distinct thermocline set up at 30 feet on that lake at that time, and I figured out a lead core trolling bite, and so I spent this was before the mapping was very good, but I spent my entire last day of practice just driving around and putting flags at 30 feet. Everywhere 30 feet met a shoreline or met a hump in the middle of the lake, I had all the 30-foot stuff mapped out. And so the next day, first day of the tournament, I just went waypoint to waypoint to waypoint, trolling, and kept those baits right at that 30-foot where that thermocline met the shore. And holy cow, did we catch fish. And ended up winning the tournament, trolling on Lake Bemidji against all the best live bait fishermen in Minnesota, basically. And so that was.
This episode of the Walleye Files is presented by Image 360 Inc. and Crown Trophy of Oshkosh, Wisconsin. For over 30 years, Image 360 and Crown Trophy have been Oshkosh's go-to for signs, vehicle graphics, custom apparel, and awards. Proudly serving northeastern Wisconsin with quality that speaks volumes. Your brand deserves to stand out. Let's make it unforgettable. Need signs that pop, graphics that roar, and branded apparel that turns heads? Image 360 and Crown Trophy in Oshkosh have been rocking northeastern Wisconsin for 30 years. From bold branding to epic awards, we bring your vision to life. Let's go. Love Image 360 and Crown Trophy.
So that was awesome. Where are we? 2007. Yeah, went on to fish and then I won the league championship that year too, down in the Quad Cities. And then I won a boat, and that's basically what gave me, financially the kind of the boost. I was confident, like, in my skills to fish the tour, but I couldn't afford it. And so after winning that the league championship, I got a new Ranger boat, and so then I started fishing the tour in 2008. Yeah, and I haven't looked back since. Fished the FLW and had some good success there for a while. And what was it? 2012 was the last year of the FLW, and then of course the NWT came along, and been there ever since. I was one of the 32 that jumped into the PWS in 21 or 20, whatever year that was, and really enjoyed that. And yeah, just kind of I've been around a while. I feel like one of the young guys, but I bet I'm on paper I'm not.
Probably not anymore. I don't think I'm even one of the young guys anymore. If you
Right?
look at it, like I turned 33 in a couple of weeks,
Okay.
and there are a lot of guys that are well younger than I am. It's kind of, I don't know. I still think I'm one of the young guys, but I'm definitely not as young as I thought I was
Right?
compared to a lot of guys. What was that first win like? The first major win, major win, winning the league championship, and then of course your first FLW Tour win on the Mississippi River as well.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Well, the league championship, God, there was a kind of a crazy story there too. So the FLW league, the angler of the year in each division got to go and fish the FLW Tour Championship, and that was in Cleveland on Lake Erie that year. Well, I ended up I knew I was close. I was in the running, and if I would have done it, took an angler of the year, I would have went to Erie. I had a group of guys that I could have hopped in with. I think it was Kolb and Denny Lancey maybe, and I was going to team with them guys. I had it all planned out just in case it happened. I ended up taking second place in angler of the year, so I wasn't able to go there. And then I went to the Quad Cities. Had I taken angler of the year, I was not going to go to Quad Cities. So it was kind of crazy how everything happened for a reason there. And yeah, going down to Quad Cities on just a grinder bite. I ended up handlining that entire event, and I think I only had a limit one day. That's how tough the fishing was. So that was cool. You know, you never think at that point in your career you're going to bring home a brand new boat. So that was pretty neat. And the first tour win was pretty awesome too. That was in Pool 3, Mississippi River. Kind of stumbled into as I went. Kind of stumbled into this crankbait casting deal that I didn't really know I was going to be doing. Long story, but yeah, I ended up just getting into a pile of big fish every day. And the first, I think, I think 2 day, it was a 3 day event, I think. Yeah, 3 day event. And the first 2 days, I kind of had to just lay off, take what I can get, and then get out of there and let it rest. Well, that last day, I knew obviously I didn't have to do that. And that last day, it was just incredible. I had that tournament won at about 9 o'clock in the morning, and it was unreal. And then I ended up upgrading like 3 more times throughout the day. Like I tried to leave the spot for another guy to have, and I don't know. I kept dabbling with it and get another 7-pounder and an 8-pounder. It was unreal. And so yeah, that was pretty crazy. Yeah, that was 2010, and that was also I took Angler of the Year in the West that year, and so that was my only Angler of the Year trophy ever. So that was pretty cool too. Dusty Minky and I actually tied. So I think that last event was Devil's Lake, and we tied in points, and they really didn't know. There wasn't a rule in place of what to do if there was a tie, so there was like no ceremony for it or anything. They're just kind of like, we'll get back to you on this. And so, basically, I think we were awarded Angler of the Year, or I was, through a phone call or something, but still got that trophy anyway, so it don't matter. But that was a lot of fun back then, man. We used to have a lot of fun traveling with them guys, and yeah, it just I don't know. It's crazy to think back of how many places I've been and how many fish we've caught, and all the little moments that you'll never forget along the way, and just been cool to get to go to all these places. Like if I didn't fish these tournaments, I wouldn't have been to so many places. So it's been cool.
Yeah, the journey to get to some of this stuff, to get to a win or to a Angler of the Year or just making championships, the stories that you could tell along the way is almost as good as the ones in the tournament. I mean, I could tell you stories about the Green Bay event last year where everybody ran 80 miles. Dan Harper and I are sitting there probably a few cocktails deep at like 11 o'clock at night pulling kickers off of our boats and taking tackle out. We're like, all right, we're doing this tomorrow. It just stories like that most people don't know. You don't tell a lot of these stories, but it just, the camaraderie, the friendships you make, all the little things that make the journey that much more special.
Yeah, and then that's a big reason why I keep doing it. Like you say, the camaraderie. Like I haven't been doing very great in the tournaments. I've been holding my own. I'm steady, but I haven't won a tournament in a very long time. And but I love hanging out with the guys and getting to do it and make a little money at it. Fortunately for me, I'm sponsored fairly well. Where even if I don't win a tournament or cash too many checks, I still can make it make sense. Usually, it's getting a little tighter, but yeah, it's always fun to get into fish camp with the boys and start strategizing. And this year we had some fun bites on the National Walleye Tour. And yeah, trying to think, Lake Sharp was good. Yeah, they were all good. Gosh, Erie was amazing. That weather we had out there. Even Alpena was cool. We got into a pretty good bite there. Lacrosse, we figured it was funny. In all my years of fishing, I've never fished pool. What would it be? Pool 9 or 8 is lacrosse.
9. Yeah.
I've never fished pool 8. And the funny thing is I just kind of assumed it wasn't a very good pool. It's like, why don't we ever go there for a bass or a walleye tournament? There's every bass tournament under the sun goes there, so they must pay a little money to get people there. And because I've fished pool 9 quite a bit over the years out of Prairie du Chien going up. And that's a really good pool, but I was very pleasantly surprised at how good the walleye fishing was in lacrosse. It was very impressive. So looking forward to going back there someday.
I mean, you were leading the tournament after day one. It's hard to not want to go back to someplace.
Yeah, that helps. That helps, man. Yeah, that one stung. I don't know. Well, I don't even know if everybody knows this story about what I watched in there. So day one, so basically I had like 3 spots in mind. I'm going down the river, and the spot I ended up catching all my fish on was on that list, but there was a wing dam before that I said ahead of time, if I'm going down the river and that one's open, I am not driving by it. I'm going to pull in there. And so I started on this one wing dam, and it was good in there. I caught a whole bunch of them, but I didn't catch any overs. I think I might have kept 1, maybe 2 out of there. But then I'm like, all right, I got to go to this next spot. Well, I go to the next spot where eventually I end up catching all these fish. Well, Danny Plouts was on there, and
is this the one where Danny puts them all back?
yeah, dude, I couldn't believe.
I love Danny. He's a great friend of mine. And he told me this after the tournament. He's like, I'm going to throw up. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Oh, and I wanted to throw up too. And because I love Danny too. Him and his dad are great friends. And yeah, so how did it go? I'm set up, and we had both actually, when I was just pulling up, he had a like a 4-pounder on the scale thinking about it. And he ends up putting in the live well. And that nothing really registered at that time. I'm like, all right, he's catching some fish. That's cool. We get set up, and I think we had both caught a couple small ones. Well, all of a sudden, he's co-angler's like cooked up with something big, but you could tell nobody's really getting too excited. In fact, they were like shaking their heads, and I'm like, what the heck? And all of a sudden, Danny, we're close. Danny looks over. He's like, this one's gonna hurt. And sure enough, they pull in a 29-incher. It was the biggest walleye that co-angler had ever caught, his personal best walleye ever. And they could do nothing but weigh it, take a picture, and throw it back. And I'm just like, oh boy. But then also I'm like, holy shit, like they're biting in here. This is good. And so I watched him do that. Well, so he throws back a 9-pounder. And then we both keep catching some more. I end up getting a couple really nice unders. Well, all of a sudden, then we catch a 9-pounder ourselves. Kept that. And then another half hour later, you look over and it's like the same thing happening over there. They're shaking their heads again, doing battle. They catch another 9-10-pounder, like another 29-incher, just blips, just huge fish. So they had to throw back 2 29, just giant walleyes they had to throw back. So, I don't know, some people know about it, but Danny Plouts should have won that tournament by like 8 pounds. Because he ended up taking like 3rd or 4th or something, because he had like 16 something the second day. But then it was funny because, yeah, he had 2 4s in there, had to throw back 2 9s, and then I get a 9, and then I catch a 4. And so I'm like, I just watched him have to throw them back, but I'm like, no way. I said, no way. I had good unders. I had a giant. I'm like, I knew if I made sure I kept that 4.5 or whatever, I'd be in the top 5 for sure. I didn't think I was going to be leading the tournament, but so then the second day, the big thing was I told myself if I get that spot, I'm not leaving. And I ended up getting it. When I got there, Shakirat was in there, and Danny was in there again, and we all got settled into our own spots, and it was all good. We're all friends, and it worked out. But I got where I wanted, and we were all courteous to each other, and it was good right away. I was catching a whole bunch of fish, and just nothing worth a darn. Maybe 1 or 2 unders that I kept, and then it never, because I told myself, I get it, I ain't leaving. Like, the right fish are here. You'll get them eventually. Had plenty of willow cats, wasn't going to run out. I was just going to sit there and catch them all. Well, I never took into consideration that they were going to open the roller gates up. And I could tell it was happening because, you'd make the sweep cast with the willow cat, and it was just right for the last 100 casts. Well, all of a sudden, you could tell your weights were just getting, like, swept back. They would end up sweeping to the back of the boat quick. And I was like, God dang it. I could tell something was going on. Flow was picking up. And so then that kind of pushed the fish off to the sides, and that's where the curate and floats were on the one side, capitalized on that. They were in a good spot when flow was low, but then they were in a really good spot when the flow picked up. So those guys caught a lot more fish. I went to the other side, and I was catching them too there, but just no big ones. So yeah, I got kind of screwed over there, but ended up scrounging a 4th one before I went in, and it is what it is. It was fun to lead it, fun to be in the sauce there for a little while. But yeah,
Yeah, I would say that. I fished pool 8 one time. It was a long time ago. I didn't know how to fish a river, and now knowing what I know now, I wish I could go back because it would be a lot more fun. It was not very fun when I fished it.
yeah, it's a cool place.
This episode of the Walleye Files is brought to you by Lake Effect Lures, the tackle that turns every cast into a catch. Built for serious anglers, tested on real fish, and proven to get bites when nothing else will. Get yours at lakeeffectlures.com. Man, I've got like 30 questions written down. I probably should just pick one. Oh man. So, you talk about like the flow in the river. Are the what's more important, your adjustments or just your confidence in your game plan going into a tournament day for you?
Probably your adjustments ultimately are probably more important because that was a perfect example of what in my head I said this is what I'm going to do, right? Well, there was a big change in conditions and I needed to change with it, and I tried, but I didn't get changed right. So I think that is a big thing. I think that is one thing that makes a good tournament angler. A good tournament angler is the guys that can make those decisions, as on the fly. I think that's a big thing. We've seen it a lot of times this year too, even where you just gotta go out and do some pre-fishing during the day a lot of times and move around. And, obviously now it's all mostly forward-facing sonar, and, sometimes you just gotta go looking for them. It doesn't matter if you hammered on them the day before in that one spot. If they're not there, you're not there. At least now we know what's around. But yeah, definitely, you can make all the preparations you want, but if the conditions change, you got to change with it.
What separates a great angler from a good angler?
A little bit about what we just touched on there. But a lot of it is the preparations as far as, your baits and stuff, making sure all your hooks are sharp and you got the right line and the right rods and reels. And that goes for, even before you even leave home, getting a lot of your stuff ready. You got all your waypoints in your graph, and you kind of have a idea in your head how you're going to break down the water. You got a variety of different baits tied on your rods ready to go, so you're not wasting time out there during practice doing all that. And then just kind of understanding. A lot of times, I think it's understanding fish movements and migrations, like knowing where they're going next is a big thing. You get into summer patterns, a lot of times they stay fairly put, but just knowing where you want to play that next card, trying to stay ahead of that. I always remember when we'd fish the river tournaments and when I was younger, and it seemed like it would always be one wherever. Like you knew about it, but you never thought about it. Like until after somebody went and did it, and it's like, why didn't you think of that, you dumbass? Like you knew them fish were going to be there in April or whatever it might be. Like that would always bother me. Like when somebody else would think about something before I would think about something, and so then that was always something I tried to put into my strategy is like, what's next? Make sure you get onto that next bite. And that could always change, obviously. A lot of times it's water temperature, water levels, and things like that will change that. And, which is one cool thing about river tournaments, I think, is they're never the same, versus, lakes and Great Lakes. Sometimes it's a lot of the same spots and that sort of thing. But reservoirs will change quite a bit too. But yeah, I don't know. There's a whole bunch of things I feel like go along with it. And obviously now the guys that really shine are guys that are good at forward facing sonar, unfortunately, but I feel like I'm getting a lot better at it too. I enjoy using it. I'm definitely not one of the guys that sits there and talks negatively about it. I love it. It's here to stay, and it's a lot of fun. It's not for everybody, but I'm definitely a guy that loves it.
Yeah, I am too. I've told a lot of people I think I'd cash more checks if they got rid of it because I'm very effective with trolling and other things, but I've forced myself over the last couple of years to really learn it. It's something that is obviously necessary for the guys that are going to fish tournaments. Yep. If you don't like it out there, that's totally fine. You don't have to like it. You're never going to change everybody's mind. You're probably not going to change anybody's mind. But it's not going to go away.
No, it is. We don't need to go down that whole rabbit hole. It's a mess. It is. I think I talked about it with somebody this morning, actually, and I said, yeah, it is. It's not depleting fish populations and all this stuff like some people try to tell you. It's not. It's teaching us so many things about, where these fish have been this whole time, and it's not good for tournaments. It really isn't. It's just creating so much negativity, is the problem. And yep. It's a transition kind of time, a period of time. And the tournament circuits it's going to take some trial and error to kind of transition with it and figure out what the right thing is to do with it. And obviously the bass circuits have gotten a lot more pressure to make changes, and walleye tournaments, you don't see as much negativity about it on the walleye side. You see some, obviously, but it's not like the bass tournaments. Boy, that stuff blew up. I kind of like what the Elite Series did this year with the half and half. I think, some people didn't like that. I thought that was a great try, I'll call it. All you can do is try, see what happens. And I think that'll be a really good way to see who's good with it and who's good without it, and because I do.
It'll be certainly fun to watch. 100%. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Because I do think some of them younger guys could stumble. I hope they don't. I would love to see some of them guys kick ass without it and just prove everybody wrong. I hope that's what happens, but I think in reality, I think some of them younger guys could stumble on some of them bodies of water without it. So it'll be interesting. From a fan standpoint, I think it adds a whole new level of fun to watch and see how the season goes.
Yeah, I agree. I'm super excited. I mean, guys like Tucker Smith and Trey McKinney are still going to catch them.
Yeah, right?
But Easton too. There are definitely guys. Yeah, Easton Fothergill, absolutely. He's an absolute hammer.
He's been fishing.
What changes do you see? You're right. What changes do you see in our side of the world, in the walleye side of the world? Anything special you see over the next handful of years?
I don't know. I mean, obviously, there's some different tournament circuits coming down the pipe. That's a big thing right now. As far as regulations with them, though, I don't know. I mean, the National Walleye Tour doesn't really seem to want to change anything. So I don't know. I don't know what's coming. As far as walleye fishing in general, as long as live bait's still around, not a lot's going to change, because if you want to catch as many fish as you can, a lot of times live bait's going to be your best option, unfortunately. I do work with Berkeley a little bit on working on designing baits and stuff like that. And it's, I think if you can get rid of live bait, that's only going to accelerate that process and that aspect of the game even more. And so I think getting rid of live bait should be considered for sure. As far as the National Walleye Tour, I can name off all kinds of things I think they should change, but I don't know. Yeah, it'll be interesting. And obviously, head to head just announced the schedule yesterday. I kind of had a little clue that this was coming. I didn't know what the schedule was going to look like, but man, I love the schedule. I love the schedule. I love the format. And one of the biggest things I like about it is I love that they're doing an off limits period and a 3-day practice period. I think that's a must. If you're going to call yourself the highest level of competitive fishing, you can't have these giant uneven factors. You can't have co-anglers. You can't have one guy that pre-fishes for 8 days for every tournament and half the field can only do 4 or 5. You can't have that. And so I like that about it, but I don't know. From what it's going to be a couple of years of struggle, I think, for all of them, because the payout, the money deal on the head-to-head just it's from what I could tell, from what I looked, it's going to be hard to make it make sense unless they start getting bigger numbers, and they're just not going to get big numbers. And, I'm not saying that in a negative way. Like, I like them guys, even though they got a little bit of a chip on their shoulder for when they got rid of the PWS after 1 year. But, I like Kyle Carpenter and Brian. They're friends of mine, and I want them to succeed. I was very happy to see them coming out with this, because at the bottom line, no matter what happens with it, the National Walleye Tour needs competition, or they're just going to stay the same old same. It's just stagnant, and they're going to get by making their money, and that's not okay. It's just gotten so frustrating and so hard to get excited about it when it's just the same crap every year. But so I hope head to head can figure it out. I think, in my opinion, I think they should have waited, and I think they should have maybe put the feelers out a little bit first instead of just being like, bam, we're doing this. Like, they should have spent a little more time getting sponsorship money, because I think they're trying to cover their ass and take enough money where if they don't get enough people in it, they're still not going to lose money. So I think, and that's been the hard thing, and I think it's one thing that AIM is struggling with too, and that new series is finding a big sponsor. And, I want in the worst way for that to succeed too. I think they got some great people behind it. They got some great minds behind it and ideas. They really have the right people to come out with a good, fair tournament series that people will enjoy. But the problem is now, when you get too many, then you're diluting everything. And so I'm worried that these next few years are going to be tough on professional walleye fishing. I think it's going to be spread out. And, we already seen a decline this year in the National Walleye Tour. So it's hard to, I don't know. I don't know if there's enough people to support. There's hardly enough people to support one circuit, let alone 3. So, and if you think back, that's where AIM failed the first time, when they came out with their AIM Pro Walleye Series. Great idea. They had all the PWT guys behind it, and because they didn't really like the FLW, there was some controversy there. Anyway, they ended up coming out with this great idea, great circuit, but they launched it during the recession when there wasn't even enough people to fill one circuit, and then they took 20, 30 boats out of that one circuit that was already struggling, and so they couldn't get enough to make theirs make sense, and then they hurt the other one, and it wasn't right. It was great idea, but the timing was wrong, and so I'm a little worried about the timing on these new ones also moving forward. But like I said, I hope I want the National Walleye Tour to succeed, but they can't get out of their own way. It's been one thing after the next, and 2, I want head to head to succeed, because I was one of the guys that got to fish the PWS, and I'll tell you what, it was amazing. Like, I would do a format like that any day again, but the money has to make sense. I'm a little concerned that there might not be media coverage during the qualifying events, which I thought that was kind of odd. I think they're only going to broadcast live during the championship because that's a big deal. You can use that sort of thing to leverage sponsors and that sort of thing. So I don't know. We'll see. I hope that they listen. I
Yeah.
hope that they listen to the anglers and make changes if they need to make changes. And I also hope that they light a fire under the NWT's ass to make some changes, because you take one little glance at a social media post of the National Walleye Tour and you'll learn all you need to know that things aren't going very well right now. And I'm not afraid to say
Yeah,
it.
I agree. I agree. It feels like they just got comfortable, and it feels like they've been okay with being mediocre for the last handful of years, and I don't think the anglers deserve that. I think we're not the Elite Series. We're not, we're not all having our own individual businesses, but we all are our own individual brands. They don't really embrace that. They don't promote that. And within that, they don't promote the sport very much either. So there are things that could be a lot better. It is a blessing getting to fish these events. It's a lot of fun. I love doing it. Don't get me wrong. But there are plenty of things that can be fixed or changed.
No, absolutely. And the problem, first off, too, I want to say people need to get off Jeff Kelm's ass, because he is not the problem. Has Jeff done some things that are less than ideal or that people don't agree with? Sure. But he's got a very hard job. And I think he does a good job at being the tournament director. He does a good job at being the MC. I don't think he should have to do both of those things. But that's the way they're doing it right now, and that's fine. Most decisions that people are complaining about and all the buzz, they're not Jeff's decisions. He is just, unfortunately, the messenger from Outdoor Teamworks that runs the National Walleye Tour. And Outdoor Teamworks, Bass Pro Shops, those are the guys that need to get their shit together. And the problem is they're running it as a business, so every decision is made with the bank account in mind. Why do you think we go to the same bodies of water all the time? And pretty obvious, right? And same with, like, why don't we have blow days? Pretty obvious. Everything is all about the Benjamins, baby. And it's hard to be mad at them, because they are giving us a platform to fish on. But we've been there a long time, and we're just watching year after year. We're just watching these decisions and these just situations just go in the wrong direction, not in the favor of the anglers. And if they end up losing us, they got nothing. And, that could end up happening. So hopefully, I hear it through the grapevine, and I seen a little teaser post from the National Walleye Tour that there's changes coming. I won't get my hopes up, but they may hopefully make some changes, because they've been hearing about it from all the anglers for years. And like a lot of people, I always hear, like, why don't they have an angler advisory panel, a group of guys that's from here and here and here? I'm like, yeah, I couldn't agree more. The reason they don't is because as the anglers, we could tell them whatever the hell we want. We could come up with all the best ideas in the world. If it doesn't benefit them financially, they won't budge on it. They run it as a business. And that's the bottom line. It's business, and they need to make their money. And which sucks, because if they would just look at a few things a little different, their business could be doing a hell of a lot better than it is. But they're afraid to take chances on some things, and we'll see. I don't know. I'm at a point in my career where I really don't care. I'll say whatever I want about them. I know they have a rule where they could fine me, but right now I don't fish the National Walleye Tour. I'm in the off season, and I just hope it gets better. Like I said, I think that it's hard to. Oh, your light go off again?
I'm in the process of buying a new camera.
Oh, it's the camera light. Yeah.
It's the camera times out, switches back to a different mode. It's super awesome.
Okay.
It's really annoying. But
no, yeah, hopefully things get better. I don't know. It's frustrating. It's hard to be mad at Johnny Morris because he's done so many great things for conservation and such across the country. But look at Cabela's right now. A lot of negativity with that store. Look at Ranger Boats right now. It's not the same. I am not sponsored by Ranger Boats anymore. I haven't signed a contract since 2020. And then of course the National Walleye Tour. How's that going? Like everything involved with Bass Pro Shops, it's going the wrong way. And it is what it is. And the store too. I'm disappointed in the store. It's all about selling their knockoff over everybody else's brand, and that doesn't sit well with me either. It's not good for the industry.
And it shouldn't. That's not good for the industry. They could definitely be doing better.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, yeah, I could talk to you all night about that, but but yeah, good to, like I said, good to see head to head throw their hat in there again. Little nervous that how well that circuit would do right out of the gate, but you got to take a chance, right? Who knows? I don't know. I don't even know. I could even be fishing it next year. Might be fishing A, might be fishing NWT. I might not be fishing anything at all. I'm honestly that confused about next year right now. It's just hard with the kids, and if I had to walk away from it tomorrow, I would. It's my sponsors that are keeping me alive, keeping me in here. Another big thing for me too is if they're going to keep rolling tour level gold, that's been a lot of fun to be a part of. It'd be really hard to walk away with that from that. Heiser, I tell Heiser I'm done, and he just won't let me live it. He just won't let it. No, it's not an option because I'm on his show too on Living the I Life. So really, I'm on the two best shows going, YouTube series that follow National Walleye Tour. I get to be on both of them, but you can't let that, you can't let that take you away from your family and stuff either. You got to do what makes sense, and financially and emotionally and mentally and all that. So we'll see. I don't know. I'm hoping that AIM announces their schedule pretty soon and continues on with that NXT idea, because I think that's a good idea. It's got some potential. I don't think the head-to-head deal coming out is going to help that at all. I think it's unfortunate that they both came out at the same time, essentially. So I don't know. We'll see. A lot to be learned. I'm trying not to think about it for the next 3 weeks. I just want to sit in a deer stand and worry about that, not fish.
Yeah. Trust me, I know, because I was pretty all in on fishing the National Walleye Tour. I looked at it, I'm like, man, you got 2 events on Green Bay. That's kind of my bread and butter. Yeah. I'm pretty pumped about it. Head to head popped that out. It's like, oh man, it's a little more money, a little more exposure. Hopefully, it'd be interesting. Just a lot of things going on in the industry right now that are that make decisions difficult. But
for sure,
we'll move on to something more positive. We'll say, just because we could be negative all day long. But
yeah, which is
you got guys. Yeah,
I say which is unfortunate. Shouldn't be like that, but I mean, it's the whole world, right? I mean, look around, look at the news, look at social media. And it probably is a lot because of social media, and everybody knows everything, and it's just you gotta just weed through it and eliminate the noise and walk away from it. And worry about yourself. Let's go fishing, go hunting.
Yep. Do the things you enjoy. Who are some of the major influences as far as guys that you look up to at fishing?
Gosh, I don't know. I mean, Gary Parsons is definitely one that always stands out. He's always willing to help, give you some advice on sponsorships and just things around the industry. He was always a big player with that. Tommy Scarless was really good with that kind of stuff too. He'd always have an idea or two. Man, I miss that guy. Another one that's not with us too that I really always looked up to was Rick Olson. He was, I don't know why, but I really liked Ole. He was one of my favorite guys to be around. So yeah, some of them guys. It's funny now. You look around who's left and fishing the tour and stuff, and it's like there's not a lot of them. There's not a ton of them that are older than me, really. A lot of the PWT guys That's kind of what I was. I almost fished at PWT. Actually, it was 2006 was their last event. It was in Hudson, Wisconsin, and I wanted to do it in the worst way, and I almost did. And then there was like a regular event and then an open or something. I can't remember. I had the chance to do it, didn't, and that was the last one. I remember that, but not too many PWT guys left. Gosh, Courts. Who else would there? There's got to be more than that. I mean, Dan.
Shakir had fished a few. Dan Plouts.
Yeah, but Dan Senior doesn't really fish much anymore.
No, Danny fished a lot of them.
Oh yeah, that's right. Danny would have. Yeah,
Danny fished. Yeah, my dad and Danny and Dan all traveled together for a handful of years. So
that's right. Yeah,
yeah, it was cool. It was cool growing up on the other side of that stage, seeing that. And that's where this all comes from. You know.
Yeah, that's awesome. I never even thought of that angle. Yeah, but there's really not a lot of them though, right? Dan Steer shows up once in a while.
Once in a while. Gosh.
Cavaius shows up, but Cavaius is kind of he doesn't need any of this BS anymore too. He just wants to catch sharks and shit. No, he don't care.
I don't blame him. That looks like a blast.
I don't know. Well, Heiser actually, I think, fished PWT or two maybe, or he was a co-angler or something. I don't even remember. But yeah, there's not a lot of them. So I guess my point is, a lot of the older guys that are older than me, really, there's only a handful of them that I would have looked up to when I was growing into the industry or whatever. But so yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously there's the legends like Al Linder and Ron Linder. I really liked Ron. He was a good guy. He always had time to talk to you and stuff. And but yeah, I guess I don't know. Maybe hopefully I'm the guy that somebody else looks up to now.
This episode of the Walleye Files is brought to you by Striker Brands, built to keep you warm, dry, and fishing longer. From ice to open water, their gear handles whatever Mother Nature throws at you. Find yours at StrikerBrands.com. Go early, go late, and go prepared. I would think so. You're a great dude, and you have a successful business inside the industry. Let's not look up to.
Yeah, you try to help kids out, get into it. I look back at some of the people that helped me into it, and now I try to pay it forward for sure too. And I mean, it's hard. It's hard to get into it, and you think about what a 20-year-old kid that wants to be a professional fisherman think right now, Try to afford a boat, try to keep up with the Joneses with electronics. And even when I was getting into it, I remember how hard it was to collect all the gear and tackle and stuff, like buying all the line counter reels and planer boards, and then you had to have all these crankbaits all of a sudden, and like that was hard for me. I couldn't afford any of that shit, and so it was like hodgepodging stuff together, borrowing stuff from people, and it was a struggle. But and so that's why, like, if I got so much stuff laying around, when I know somebody can use it, I give it away. Here you go, take this. As long as you're using it, I'll be happy. So
that's a great way to do it. That's a great way to get shit out of your garage, man.
Yeah, no, for sure. I need to have a garage sale.
Let me know before you do, so I can pick through the good stuff.
Wow, there's a lot of crankbaits guys are selling for some reason nowadays. I don't know why, but
Bill, before we close this out, I always ask whoever my guest is to close it out with a tip to make somebody, just anybody in general. It could be somebody who fishes the bank, somebody who's their first day ever on the water. It could be somebody who fishes a national tour. Just make somebody a better angler. How do we do that?
One thing, actually, I touched on this morning, but I think it's important, and a lot of the tournament level guys already know this, but for an average angler, I think a lot of times you'll see these lakes are getting a lot clearer zebra mussels, fishing pressure, whatever it might be. You got to be using a fluorocarbon leader on all your setups. I see so many people tying that jig right to heavy braided line, and they're out there, they come back to the resort or wherever, like, we didn't catch anything. And then you look at what they got on, and, I think that one big thing is fluorocarbon leader. I like to use a neon green, usually a Berkeley Fireline. And as far as length goes, the general rule of thumb is just a little shorter than the rod you're using. Basically, you want it as long as you can. but you don't want it reeled up into the reel when you make a cast. You want that knot on the outside of your reel when you cast, and it'll go through the guides good then. I think that's one that I've talked to some high school teams and stuff too. Like that's one you got to get in your head. You got to be using it, and I think that should go for anybody, whether you're fishing on the bank, on the dock, for bass, for walleye, anything. Pay attention to your setups. You need more of a finesse kind of setup. It seems like nowadays. It's unfortunate when you look at like Lake Mille Lacs and Leech Lake. All the people that have gone up there for 30 years, they can't catch fish anymore up there because the fish are so spooky. And, so this is something to keep in mind. Fluorocarbon leaders, long casts, just getting everything away from the boat more. The fish are still there. Whether or not the keyboard warriors on Facebook told you they're all dead because of forward-facing sonar, they're not. They're still there, but you gotta go at them a little different. So keep that one in the back of your mind, I guess.
That's a great tip. I appreciate that, Phil.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bill Shimota, thank you for being here with us. Thanks for filming a pod with me. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Enjoy your time in your tree stand.
Hey,
man.
I was gonna say the same thing, buddy. I know you love chasing whitetails, and they're really starting to crank up around here. The cameras have been busy, and they're scraping and rubbing like crazy. And yeah, it's these next couple weeks are magical, man. I can't wait. Best of luck to you, and stay in touch, buddy.
Awesome. Thanks, buddy.
You bet.